Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason and the channel is the Everyday Card Collector. Welcome to Hobby Spotlight episode 3. I've got two guests on today, two great guests. I had the opportunity to meet both of them at the National this year, and one of them was like a megastar of the National. So I'm thrilled to have them both on. They are people who are somewhat familiar with the small community that we have on YouTube. I've seen their pictures with others, and I know that they've gone to shows with others and met quite a few people at the National. So they made their rounds at the National, and everybody really enjoyed their company and loved sharing the hobby with them. So I had the chance to get them on, and they agreed to it. So let's jump them on right now. And we've got Jason and Finley. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Jason, great to see you. Thank you so much for having us on.
Absolutely. Finley, how are you?
Good.
Good. Very good, kiddo. It's nice to see you guys again. I jokingly introduced it as Finley was the star of the National. So I think all of us old guys get really excited when we see young kids in the vintage hobby. So we get excited to see that, and we get to see people, particularly daughters. I have two daughters, so to see young girls getting into the vintage hobby is awesome. But I kind of wanted to start off with you, Jason, just how you got into the hobby, your origin story, and how you started collecting vintage.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I have been into baseball, from the jump. I had a grandfather that as soon as I was born and he found out that I was left-handed, told my mom that I was going to be a left-handed pitcher, and that was that, and off we went. He actually played baseball for his company team, and I brought a photo here tonight that I'll share with you guys.
That's fantastic. Let me see if I can get an up close on that.
This
we'll try.
The
I'm trying them. I want to get you up close if I can, Jason. But all right, we'll just split screen it because I'm an amateur. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is the 1920 Procter and Gamble baseball team. And so back in the early 1900s, a lot of the companies, because baseball was America's pastime. Baseball was it then. A lot of the companies put together teams, and Kansas City was no different. They had Procter and Gamble, and they had a number of other companies that had teams, and there was 14 players on a team. And he's in this picture. You won't be able to see him here, but it's my grandfather, Finley's great-grandfather. But they drove around in the Procter and Gamble baseball bus, and I just thought this was so cool. And it's such a great, piece of nostalgia for the era, and just really, kind of shows the roots that baseball had in our country. And so, my early days of learning about the sport were really fashioned with him. I would sit on his porch and listen to him talk about, the players that he could remember. And of course, this was early 70s into the late 70s. And so he would tell me stories about guys like Carl Hubble and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, and then, all through the golden age, and talking about Mickey Mantle and others. And so, from very early on, I had heard about those players. And so, although, I started opening packs when I was about 7, I still had this great background of all the all-time greats, and had heard the stories from my grandfather, and really was interested in the history of the game very early on. And so that I think really was, for me, was an area of emphasis, and pushed me towards vintage very early. So not only did I open packs in real time, but I started going to card shows with my friends and with my dad. Probably the most important card in my collection is a 1953 Satchel Paige that my dad bought for me at our first card show. And so, we went to this card show, and all I really remember is the fact that we came back with the page. But I knew who that was because of my grandfather and all the stories that I had heard. And, what's funny is all these years later, it's still an epic card in our hobby. And it means so much to me, but it meant so much to them back then because of who he was and the struggles that he had to make it to the majors and what he meant to our city. So that I said a
that's
lot. That was
fantastic.
taking a breath, right? But
No, that's amazing. And to your point, it's probably his last somewhat affordable card, and I think his best looking card. That's high on my target list. I actually don't have that card, and it's high on my list. So, was that your first vintage card that you can remember?
it was definitely my first big card.
Okay.
I'm sure that I had others in the 70s. I mean, I can remember opening packs in 1977. And that was kind of the first year I really liked that design in the 77s. And 78, I was just hooked, and I was opening as many packs as I could open. That was Eddie Murray's rookie year, and so we were all chasing the Eddie Murray rookie. And he was a great player already as a rookie. And so it was just so much fun. It was different. We didn't put them in our bike spokes, in the 70s,
Right.
but we didn't treat them like folks do today. Like the second you open the pack, they go in the sleeve, and then they go in the top loader, and then you got to think about whether you're going to have them graded, and you name it.
Yep.
It was different.
Yeah, I grew up in the heart of the junk wax era where you didn't put them in your bike spokes, but you didn't know how to take care of them, and that was just starting to happen when I was ripping like 84 and 83. I was about 10 when I was ripping 83. So you had them in shoe boxes, but now you get a big hit, it goes immediately in the one touch or into the penny sleeve, into the one touch, or off to grading it goes. So it's amazing how the younger collectors mature much quicker now as they're collecting. Um, so I guess my next question would be: are you mainly? I know you mentioned Carl Hubble. Are you mainly Golden Age, or do you dive into the pre-war as well, Jason?
So we're definitely interested in the pre-war. I did a little bit of collecting there, back when I was a kid and before college, and just recently getting back into the hobby and I mean, all the information that's out there these days, from the folks in the community and just the collectors in general, about pre-war, has really spurned an interest for us. And so that's something that we've been collecting. We started out with a goal of collecting all Hall of Famers, right? So we're going to collect every card of every Hall of Famer. And then I was like, man, that's still a lot of cards.
It is.
It's still a lot of cards. I think that's certainly still a goal of ours. But our emphasis has been pre-war and golden age, and probably through 1980. And then after that, really just the big stars like your King Griffey Juniors, those folks after that.
Sure. Now, Finley, my question to you is: how did you get into the vintage cards? Because most kids your age are collecting the modern stuff.
Yeah, so, well, I lost a tooth, and the tooth fairy brought me a Mickey Mantle card.
Wow, the Tooth Fairy brought you a 53 Mickey Mantle? Well, that's a great Tooth Fairy.
So,
I was getting $1 when I was losing teeth at that age.
So the Tooth Fairy brought her a 1991 reprint of the 53 Mantle.
Okay.
But it is signed, and it is authenticated. So it's a pretty big card. This happened. Finley's been collecting. We've been collecting together for about 2 years, and about a year in, she lost a tooth. And there was quite a bit of momentum already. We had been collecting together and talking about our gold cards and things, but we really hadn't been collecting the way that we are now. And so with the Tooth Fairy bringing that card, just to hear the sheer elation, in her voice as she found it that morning, and running in and us talking about it. I think it really energized her. And I mean, she can speak to it. I mean, you ask her who her favorite player is. I mean, I think you'll hear a recognizable name.
Yeah, and I did ask that question at the National, and I said, well, who do you like to collect? And I think you said Mickey, Willie. Who else? So you said Willie Mays, I thought.
I mean, I like to collect Roger Maris.
That's a good one.
Hank Aaron.
Yes, definitely a good one.
And I can keep on going on for honestly.
So you like the Hall of Famers from
Yeah.
the golden era, if you will, which I think is fantastic. So I had, and I'll tell the story. I had met you guys briefly, and I wanted to bring Finley a package. I wanted to get her when I saw that Finley was so enthralled with vintage. I said, I'm gonna get you some cards, and I live in the Chicago area, so I went home every night after the National, got a package together for her, gave it to her. She was so grateful, and then I saw her at trade night what she had, and I said, well, shoot, you got a better collection than me, kiddo. Like, what is all this? And she was selling some cards, and I bought this from my favorite dealer, Finley.
Yeah.
There's my early win in his White Sox uniform. This is the one card I brought to show. I don't usually show on this, but I had to show this, and this is going to be forever in my collection. And I'm actually going to label it the Finley card. So that's something that will always last in my collection. But why don't you tell people what sets you like to collect? I know we talked about some players. I saw some pretty cool cards that you had on trade night. So what are some of your favorite sets?
Well, I like the 52 set.
It's a good one.
And
amazing.
I like right now I honestly really like the 50 through 52 Bowman cards.
Yes, beautiful cards. Is that the Pee-wee?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
So you have a couple more.
Oh, that's fantastic. Beautiful.
But yeah, I really like these, and then I just I love the 33 Gaudy set.
Yes, that's a great set.
We've been listening to baseball collectors review of Bowman, and so like starting in the late 40s and rolling through the 50s, like year by year, and it's fantastic.
Yes.
And, those cards. I mean, Finley, like, she surprised me. I mean, she really has a love for those cards, and I think it's that to me, they're like individual pieces of art. You look at them, and they're just gorgeous. And there's so many just famous, amazing cards within those Bowman sets. I mean, the Pee Wee one. I mean, that's one of the biggest cards of the hobby. And I mean, it's not like he's an all-time great, but that card is for sure.
Oh, yeah. When you get into the 53 Bowman colors, the photography, right, is just absolutely amazing. So 50 through, I like black and white, so I don't mind 48. But in particular, and 49 is not terrible, but 50 through 52 were just works of art those 3 years, right? They're absolutely beautiful. And 50 is the more squared off, smaller, so you get the bigger image and crop differently in 51. I enjoyed the nameplate, obviously, on the front, but some of the 52s, the 52 Musial is phenomenal. Just a beautiful, beautiful card. So yeah, I enjoy the Bowmans as well. 33 Gaudy is a fantastic set, Finley. I will tell you that some of those images from that set may have come from the 29 Cashin set, which were actual photographic images of those players. So if you look at the Lou Gehrig from 1933 Gaudy, if you look at his 1929 Cashin, it's the actual image in black and white of that particular image. But those start to get a little expensive, but they're worth it. That's the pre-war stuff that I enjoy digging a little deeper like that. Are there any particular sets, Jason, that you are looking at pre-war wise, or are you just kind of, covering the gamut? Are you more of a type collector, player collector when it comes to pre-war, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, so I would say probably more a player collector. That there's absolutely sets that I love and that I chase. I mean, 33 Gaudy is definitely one of them. I think we're going to start putting together one of the Bowman sets. We're going to pick. I don't think we want to tackle all of them, but we might pick a year that she really enjoys. And the thing that's neat about those sets is there's not 762 of them, right? It's a manageable number. Now, some of them are very expensive, and so you have to be careful and strategic about how you go about it. But it's really cool, and it's nice to have that goal. And so it's something that we're going to chase together.
That's a fantastic goal. Yeah, 51 would be tough. That could get a little pricey. You've got the Mays and the Mantle rookies and a few others, actually, Whitey Ford and a couple in there. 50 wouldn't be so bad. Jackie Robinson comes to mind as being the big card in that set for me. But it's a doable set, and I think they're beautiful. I love the Larry Doby. I think it's a phenomenal card.
Yeah, probably in 50, I would say Jackie and Ted are probably the two.
Ted, right. Yeah, that's a good point. Ted as well. Yeah. So my question then would be, are you leaning towards building sets together, or are you both collecting the set as a group and then kind of collecting on the side other additional cards and other additional players?
Can I say this one?
Yeah, you bet.
Well, so for us, if let's say one of us buys a card, their collection is our collection.
Perfect.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
What's mine is hers.
Yeah.
That's right. Perfect.
Look, I'm just holding these cards for now, and I'm hoping to pass them on to her. And the fact that she enjoys it so much makes it so fun. And so that our thought is we'll collect all these together. And I think if she collects them together with me, they're probably going to mean more for her too. And so just us going, and we make a lot of decisions together. Like we'll say, okay, well, what's the big card we're going to chase at this show? How do we want to go about it, and try to put together strategies. We did that at the National. Our card for the National was a 1929 Churchman Babe Ruth. That was our card. And it's super cool. I love the image on it. That Churchman set really was a kind of an all sports set.
Yep.
So it wasn't one where there were a lot of other players. It was really just him. From a baseball perspective. So we went to the National, and we searched and searched and searched, and we didn't find it. And we got home. I was like, man, I still really want that card, and this is like the National hangover that we could probably talk about. So you go to the National, you see all this cool stuff, and you come back and like, oh man, I don't know that I'm quite done with this.
Right.
So we went and we picked it up when we got back from the National.
Beautiful. Did you get it online, or did you buy it at another show?
Well, yeah, we got it online.
Perfect. Absolutely beautiful. You want to talk about a piece of art? That's a piece of art right there.
Oh yeah, just gorgeous. And that image, they used it in a couple different versions, couple different cards, but it's classic.
Now, is that the first Plain Days Babe Ruth in the collection?
It is. Yeah.
Phenomenal. I love it. And Finley, I don't want to ask your age, but I will say at your age, never in my life would I have imagined having a Plain Days Babe Ruth in my collection. It took for me to become 51 years old till I got mine. So that's fantastic. That is amazing.
Likewise, Jason.
Right. That is awesome. So what did you guys pick up at the National? Did you get a chance to pull some of that?
So we do have a couple cards with us that we got from the National. So first, this is one of my favorites. So as I said earlier, I love Roger Maris, and so I picked up this amazing Roger Maris rookie card.
That's right, from the 58 set. Beautiful card. And what team is he with on that? Do you know who?
The Cleveland Indians. And then next up we have a Beautiful, beautiful Jackie Robinson.
54, one of his best cards. The later Jackies to me are probably prettier than a lot of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
You know, he's climbing in value crazy right now, but 54, 55, and 56 I think they're beautiful cards.
Yeah, that was together that was our first Jackie card.
Yeah.
So that was cool. It was cool to get it at the National and to get it together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so this is actually like another one of my chase cards. So I've always loved this design for this player, the 58 Willie Mays.
Yes, beautiful. I love that. When you get that next to the Hank Aaron, the 58 Hank Aaron, they're beautiful cards.
That 58. So that's one thing we didn't talk about earlier is you know, we have this goal of collecting the Hall of Famers, but like the big three during the golden age of Mantle, Mays, and Aaron. I mean, that's kind of our core focus.
Sure.
To finish those first, and that 58 Aaron is one that we don't have yet. But it's such a cool card with the green background. You know.
Yes.
The way that it frames him on the card, it's super cool.
But what we do have is a 55 Topps Hank Aaron.
And I will tell you this, and most people will disagree with me because of the 54. That is my favorite Hank Aaron card. I love the 55. I think it's his best looking card. Of course, the 54 is iconic and a beautiful card, but my favorite looking is his 55. Can you show that again, Finley?
I kind of put it away there really quick.
That's awesome. Absolutely beautiful card.
And we may have glare, you know, we're technologically challenged.
No, you guys are fine. You guys are fine.
But yeah. So there was one other, you know, type of card that we found at the National that Finley really liked that surprised me. And we knew about this before we went, but you know, Dick Perez did the entire series of cards, and Finley found these autographed Dick Perez cards, and we just picked up, you know, a stack of them, and they're just, to me, he's so amazing. You know, like anything that he's done, I'm gonna buy just because he's so good at what he does, and he captures the players so well. And then to get an autograph on top of it, I think is just so cool. And they're not expensive, you know. I mean, some of the big boys are a little bit more, but most of them are all really affordable. So you get this great image of the player with a signature. It's just hard to beat.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. You will not find a more beautiful card with an autograph at that particular price. I have a few of his, I think they're the greatest moments that are framed in. They've got like the green frame with the autograph. Those are beautiful as well. And you can pick them up, you know, on certain Hall of Famers for like $30 or $35. It's crazy to me. Now, you know, a lot of these guys signed a lot, but so what? You know, I think I've got a Duke Schneider. I don't think I have the Musial, but I think I was looking at a Musial not too long ago, and I think it was like $55 or $60 for Stan. Yeah. Now he signed a ton, but the reality is it's a beautiful piece of art with his signature on it. I think that's amazing. Now, do you watch or follow Finley? Do you follow Mike Moynihan, baseball collector? Because he is the Dick Perez authority. He knows a lot about him.
Yeah, we actually, I think, watched one of his episodes where he had Mr. Perez on, and it was before the documentary was released. And so, yeah, Mike had a good opportunity to talk to him about all of that, and then we watched the documentary, and it was fantastic.
I don't remember that at all.
You can go back and watch it. So more importantly, what was your experience like at the National? I know, unfortunately, the YouTube get together had a hang up, and that was terrible. I was so bummed that worked out. Most people go for that particular event, and to no fault of Mike or anybody else's, it was just a crazy scenario. But aside from that, what was your overall feeling? I know you got to meet a lot of people in the community. You guys were at a dinner the night of the YouTube get together. I think you guys were sitting outside while I was inside. So What was your overall feeling about meeting the people, getting involved with the community? What did you think about everything?
Well, I was really, really excited because here we are sitting at this YouTube get together and then meeting all of like the people that I watch, including you. And like, so it was really exciting for me.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And I think, as you could tell, I know you met one guy who we don't want to mention his name too much because he doesn't deserve any credit. That Chris guy from Missouri, But in all seriousness, he's a fantastic guy. I know you got to see him at another show. Did you get to talk to him a little bit at another show that you were at?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It might have even been the week after we got home from the National.
Yeah.
We saw Chris and his friend Tom and Jayhawk Mike at a show, and we all went to lunch, and it was great. To and talk to those guys and talk about their collections and pick their brains regarding strategy. It was fun.
Yeah, I will tell you in all seriousness, as much as I tease Chris, one of the nicest guys in the community and has an absolutely amazing collection, just an amazing collection. I went to go visit them locally in their area about 1.5 years ago and got to spend a couple days with them and had an absolute blast. It was a lot of fun. So, yeah, he's a good one for the hobby, as much as I tease him, Finley. But every time you see him, you just make sure that you tease him for me. So
I did do that. I did.
Good. That's perfect. That works out well then. So what else do you guys have to show? You got something else to show? You want to show a few more cards?
So I don't know. I'm a little bit of a storyteller.
Perfect.
So something that we do is I try to capture what Finley and I do in the hobby and all the various trips that we take. So each year we keep a journal. I've got this journal that I keep from all the shows. I do a little prologue at the beginning of the year talking about where we're at. And then we include our Grail list in it. And unfortunately, there's not a lot that's been checked off this year. Notably, at the top of Finley's Grail list is the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle.
Oh, that's a small card. You'll be able to pick that up, no problem.
Don't tell our buddy Ash that, because he is in selling Finley that card. But it's great. So we keep tabs on all the various shows, and I'll do a little write-up. Like, here's a write-up of us going to the Dallas show, in January. That was really probably our first biggest show together.
Yeah.
And it was great. It doesn't have as much vintage as some of the other shows, but just being there and participating in trade night and talking to all the folks that are so excited about the hobby right now, just makes it super fun. One of the other things that we're doing, and a lot of folks are doing this, so this is not unique, but we've got the 300 great cards, and we roll through it, and I put notes beside the ones that we have, and like where we got them and how. The pre-war doesn't have a lot of notes, unfortunately. But here's the 51 Dobie purchased at Card Show with Finn 2025. 52 Bob Feller purchased at the National with Finn 2025. So it's just a lot of fun to do that, and hopefully at some point Finley will have a nice keepsake that she'll be able to look back at and see all those things that we did together when I'm old as dirt and she's maybe not thinking about collecting cards as much, but
I can't tell you how awesome that is, Jason, to be able to have the opportunity as a parent. My daughters weren't in the cards. I get a kick out of it now. My youngest daughter has already staked claim. My youngest is 22. So she has already staked claim to the cards, but simply for the financial reason of having the cards. So when I'm old as dirt, and I said, well, maybe you guys will have boys and I can pass it on to a grandson or even another granddaughter who likes cards. Because clearly you guys just want them for the money, but I think it's amazing that you have this opportunity while Finley's still young, to share the hobby together and then curate it in manners like that. I think that's fantastic. And Finley, it might seem a little silly right now, but as you get older, you'll realize how awesome that is and what a cool thing that is. And you're always going to collect, right? You think you'll always collect? Yeah.
Yeah.
We come in and out of the hobby sometimes. I think everybody does. But, if you keep your collection, then, you're still a collector and you can keep collecting at and pick it back up at any point in time. So,
yeah, that'll be this era, I'm told. Maybe sometime during the teenage years when she may not be quite as interested. But I'll just be picking up rail cards. Every once in a while I'll say, man, it would have been great had you been with me. You could have bought that Lou Gehrig. But
so is the 33 Gaudi Lou Gehrig your big Lou Gehrig?
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I will just have to drop some of those on her if I'm not getting as much of her attention as I think.
That is fantastic. I need to add Lou Gehrig to my collection as well, but I like a lot of that oversized stuff. Mm-hmm. So the 34 Butterfingers Gehrig is really high on my list, and I think it's absolutely beautiful.
We also have some of those, and that's one of the other sets that we didn't mention when we were talking about set building previously. I love the Hassan triple folds.
Absolutely beautiful.
I just think they are so cool, and the fact that you get 2 cards and you get the image with them. This is a 1912 Walter Johnson.
Yep.
And Walter Johnson is like one of my favorite players. Like I was a pitcher, he was a pitcher. Unfortunately, I didn't throw as hard as he did, so I hear. But just an iconic player in the sport, and so to have that card that's over 100 years old, and to have that piece of history. Here's Christy Mathewson. Also another just amazing pitcher and one of the most collectible, I think, players of the pre-war era. But I'll tell you something that we discovered just recently. Mike Moynihan did an episode with a gentleman that wrote a book on triple folds.
Yep, saw that. And
picked up that book, and it's amazing. So basically, just he walks through the 1912 season, like day by day, using the cards to tell his story. I just think it's so cool. You see all the gorgeous cards, and then it ends with the description of the World Series, and so that's one that's also on our list. There's only several hundred cards in that set, if that. I don't even know if there's several hundred. They use a number of the images multiple times.
Correct. You're right. And the best part about that set is imagery is very similar to a lot of the T205s. So the Maddie and the Walter Johnson look like the T205s, but you get the additional action shot in the middle, and it's a fraction of the price of what a T205 or T206 would cost. And again, I don't know if that's because of the oversized discount or what, but they're absolutely beautiful. There's one of the cards, and I think it's kind of been discovered at this point, the cat's out of the bag. One of the cards where the centerpiece, the action shot, is Ty Cobb. And it was a cheap way to get into a Cobb. And I think everybody realized, and it's been proven that that's Cobb. So that card's been shot through the roof. But at one point in time, it was an affordable way to get into a Ty Cobb. So again, a set that is so beautiful, not crazy to collect, and you could do it slowly and chip away at it. I think that's awesome. That is very cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. So those sets, the Hassan triple fold and the Gaudi set, that's probably will take up the next few years for us.
Sure, absolutely.
That's been go out and buy.
And then after that, we'll get you even into like more scarce and obscure stuff. We'll find the really obscure stuff then, and you can really dig your heels in. I actually picked up my first Walter Johnson at the National. I got his E121, which I think is 1922 American Chocolate. So that was my first one. I love his T205. I have the same image as the triple fold. I love it. Absolutely love it. So you said you did play ball then, Jason. Were you a pitcher for how long?
Yeah, so I pitched from the time I was 8 years old until I was 23.
Oh, wow. Did you pitch in college?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
So, um, it's funny because I mentioned earlier that I was left-handed, and it's a good thing because I didn't really throw all that hard, and I didn't run fast. Um, famously, I went to college, played through high school and college. I didn't get drafted, and I decided to go to law school, and got through law school, started my first job, and there was an old partner there that was a huge baseball fan. I mean, so much so that during one of his sabbaticals, the firm offers you a certain amount of time off after you've worked for so many years. Um, he worked as an intern at the sports radio station here in town. And so, here's this old school partner working as an intern at a sports radio station. So I'm working with him, and he says, "Well, Jason, let me get this right. So, you are a left-handed pitcher, and you played in college, and you got through, and there was nothing wrong with you. You didn't have any injuries, and you decided to go to law school instead of pursue baseball. Is that right?" And I said, "Yeah, pretty much." And he's like, "You must be the dumbest attorney we've ever hired."
That's phenomenal.
uh, I was like, man, this is rough. I just was this old school guy, but he was so mad at me because I didn't just go, pursue that, and it's really hard. And like the guys that don't get drafted, there's not as much investment in them. And you can chase it for a long time and never make it and really struggle. And so that was the decision I made. And I'm happy with it. I still have dreams at 50 plus years old of what would I have done, or should I have done this or that. But I've had a good path.
Yeah, and I think that's typical. I've got a buddy of mine who actually got as far as double A ball, and he was a pitcher as well. Ended up playing double A for the Expos, and never really worked out. Never got past double A. Knew some of the guys. He was going through the organization the same time Randy Johnson was, and
Oh,
so he's Pedro was in that era as well, and I think Larry Walker were all kind of that Expos organization at that point in time. So I had a lot of great stories. I met him in the field of work that I'm currently in and have been my whole life. And he's been in that field his whole life as well. We worked together at a couple companies, and then he went his direction, I went mine. We stayed in touch. We still talk every now and then. But I went to a minor league game, which was a independent team here in the Chicagoland area called the Schaumburg Flyers. And they made a stadium, a replica stadium of a mini Wrigley Field. So it's a beautiful stadium. It's in the suburb of Chicago, western suburb. And I went to the game with my now wife. I think we were still dating at the time. So we just went to the game for a couple bucks to go have some fun at a minor league game. And my friend was warming up in the bullpen. And I said, that guy looks like I shouted his name out. His name is Joe. I'm like, hey, Joe. He turned around and he smiled and laughed and he waved me down. I said, what are you doing? And he's like, I made the team. I said, but what are you doing for work? He's like, well, I work night shift. So I just take vacation days for when we're traveling. And I can play most day games. As a pitcher, I know when I'm pitching. He was a relief pitcher, he said, so I've got a little leeway. And his manager at the time was Ron Kittle, was the manager of the Schaumburg Flyers. And I'm a huge Sox fan, so I thought that was really neat. So, he kind of hung on to that dream a little bit longer. He was older. He was probably in his 30s at that point in time, but got to play a little minor league ball and stretch out his dream a little bit. But it's very cool. It's very difficult, a lot harder than people think. So.
Oh, yeah. That's actually, we didn't talk about this at the beginning, but I think that's really, what created Finley's love for baseball and what we're doing. So, at a very early age, we started going to ball games, and we sit right behind home plate, and I have her help me set up batters. I'm like, okay, well, how would you pitch this guy? And what are we going to throw? And pretty soon she could recognize the pitches, like, oh, that was probably a four-seam fastball, and that was probably a two-seamer, and that was a change, and that was a slider because it was 81 to 84. There's not a lot of 9-year-olds that can do that, and I think it really helped because it helped her understand the game, and she respects kind of how hard it is to play the game, and like what all these guys accomplish that we collect.
Absolutely. I will even say this, Finley, there's not a lot of adults who could identify which pitch is being thrown, to be honest with you, let alone 9-year-olds. So my question to you, Finley, is as you're collecting these guys, because a lot of them you never got to see play shoot, I didn't get to see a lot of them play. Do you learn about the history of these guys? Do you understand what's behind some of these players?
I mean, yeah.
Awesome. So like Jackie Robinson's story, obviously most kids our age or your age, you learn that through American history, but you've gotten the time or taken the time to learn about Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and all of that. I think that's fantastic. So have you brought that to school? Have you done any reports or anything at school and that involves players?
So about like maybe a year ago, I like created this slideshow, and I'm like, and this is how Mickey Mantle got famous. So it's one of my classmates said, well, I didn't know who this player was, but because of you, now I know who it is.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. See, so that's the thing. You can spread that education, and maybe those people down the road will be interested in those players and will keep their legacy alive. That's what collecting is for me. The vintage end of it is the history and keeping the legacy of these great players alive. I always giggle at, because that, most people know Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays. It's when you start to collect some of the more undervalued or under-recognized Hall of Famers like an Archie Vaughan or a Luke Appling from the White Sox. Like, people don't know who they are, and the greatness that they achieved was monumental, and they're kind of getting lost in the mix of things. So collecting vintage helps us keep that alive a little bit. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the one other thing that we do in that respect, and it's a lot of fun, is Finley writes folks that sign through the mail.
Oh, you TTM.
Yeah. So we just kind of started, but our first big success was Bill Mazeroski.
That's phenomenal, and he's got a beautiful autograph.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, just the idea that here she is writing this guy that won the 1960 World Series, and the card that we sent him to autograph was the one where he's rounding third base, celebrating the home run, and so we just learned like all that history right there through that process. And in the letter we talked about how cool it was for that to have happened, and we wondered how it might have felt, and how much of an honor it would be for us to have an autographed card of his. And so the cool thing about that for me is, one, it teaches her about him and about that series and the game. But then also, if you're Bill Mazeroski, how cool is it for you to get those letters, and have people reach out to you like that and still talk about that game that happened, 64 years ago.
Yeah, it's possibly one of the most famous home runs in baseball history. So it's something that, it has to live on. And I think what would be probably, even if I was sitting in his shoes, the fact that it's younger kids of this generation, that's what I would think is so cool. If it happened in 1970 and he was getting letters at that point in time, well, that was only 10 years after it actually occurred. But we're talking, 40 plus years, 50 plus years since it's occurred. So I think that's fantastic. And so do you TTM to a lot of people? Was that your first one?
He was our first one, and we have a list that we're rolling through, and we're just kind of making decisions based on, folks' age and
health.
We recently, Ryan Sandberg was on our list, and we didn't get out to him. And that guy, I mean, what a great guy! Signed like right up until he passed away, and it's just it's those folks that it's really cool to make that connection with. Like Vern Law is on our list. Guys like Bobby Chance, not necessarily Hall of Famers, but they had fantastic careers. And I can't imagine what it feels like for those guys to get letters from kids.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's even better that they don't have to be a Hall of Famer. There were so many significant players throughout the history of the game that can be recognized beyond just the Hall of Fame. I mean, some of my favorite players are non-Hall of Famers, and I never got to see him play. I'm a big Sherm Lawler guy, the catcher for the White Sox, and Billy Pierce. I think those guys are phenomenal. I like Ken Boyer a lot. There's some debate if he should be in the Hall of Fame, but those are a few.
Chris would say just outside, right?
Just a bit outside.
Yeah, and I would argue with him on that, but we'll save that for when we're all together and we can have that argument. If we were talking numbers and WAR, I think purely on the numbers alone, he belongs there. And there are people with far less accomplishments than he had that are in there, including some of my players like Harold Baines. So I loved Harold Baines growing up. Does he belong in the Hall of Fame? I don't know. That's maybe a debate. So. But yeah, I think that's awesome. So I know Carlton Fisk TTMs. I'm trying to think of, the Ryan Sandberg thing was especially devastating in my area because I'm from Chicago. So that was, he was the other 23 in this city. There was one 23, Michael Jordan, and
right.
He was the other one. And I'm not a Cubs fan, but I always had great respect for Ryan. And particularly in my generation, because we grew up watching him, he was huge for our generation. So that was a tough one in Chicago. But and I knew he was sick, and then he kind of got on the mend, and then kind of fell back into a bad shape. So that was unfortunate because he was young. But I do know, I think Louis Aparicio is still around. I don't know if he's TTMing.
I think you can. His success rate is not super high, but
right.
It's worth reaching out. There's a lot. It's kind of amazing. Andre Dawson signs a lot. Raleigh Fingers, Miss Eckersley, Nolan Ryan. I mean, if you send it to his foundation, he's foundation. There's a lot of folks, and I just think with Finn writing them. It's a lesson for her, and she gets to learn about the player. And then if you get it back, I mean, that's what makes it, right? Is if they sign it and write back. That's just awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. So are you building an autograph collection then, Finley?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. Now, what are you doing? Are you going to grade those, or do you keep them ungraded in a binder, or how do you handle that?
Well, currently we are grading some of ours, so I actually have a couple of graded cards. Do you mind if I show them?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Okay, so I have this 1954 Topps Warren Spahn autograph.
That's fantastic, and a great card.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites of him.
And then second, I honestly just really, really like this card.
Mm-hmm.
1954 Bowman, Bob Feller autographed.
Fantastic.
Oh, and then we have one more.
Is it a big one? You're smiling.
Yeah, this is a big one. Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow, I can't see that. It's Cleveland? Is that Satchel?
Satchel Paige Post.
Wow. Well, that is a big one. That's a big one. That's phenomenal.
So on that one, Jason, I mean, for me, because I had such a strong connection to, that 53 card and my dad, I bought that one for her for Christmas, and, put a nice little note with it, and, just let her know what a big deal it was, for him, to me, and then, hoping that she would look back on that the same way that I do mine. And you know, I mean, he was such an amazing figure. I mean, you look at the folks that helped break the color barrier. It wasn't just Jackie. You know, I mean, Jackie was first, and that was really hard. And you know, the world owes him a lot for that. But there were also others that were right behind him, like Larry Doby and Satch and others that had the same kind of criticisms. And Satchel, unfortunately, spent almost all of his best years, you know, outside of Major League Baseball. And there's a picture of him on his opening night that I think is so powerful. It's him, and he's just standing on the mound, and you see the crowd in the background. So you see him in the foreground, and then the crowd in the background. And I look at that picture, and you just think, like, what must he have been thinking on that?
Right.
Like all that he went through to get to that place. Um, to me, it's just such a powerful image. And so, you know, there's some of these guys that their story is really greater than the game. It's really about civil rights, and it's about the human race and how we treat each other. And so the cards mean more really than the cards.
That's correct. Yeah.
That that's the lesson in it for us, and to me that's the story that can be told for generations and generations, regardless of whether you've seen somebody play. When they have, you know, gone through those kinds of sacrifices in order to play the game and achieved what they've achieved, then they're worth celebrating for a long time.
I couldn't agree more. And so many of those players, you know, what, you know, crossover players or the bridge players, they call them, like Monty Irving, Larry Doby was what, 5 weeks after Jackie.
Yeah.
You know, Campy's another one. You know, Newsom, all of those guys. There was a toll to pay. Obviously, Jackie was the first, right? So that's extra special and gets a little extra attention. But the reality is that was happening with several guys, and to see them come through all of that and pave the way for even guys, you know, towards the tail end of that, when it was starting to become mainstream, Hank Aaron and Ernie Banks, and, you know, and down the line we go. It's a part of American history, right? Which is why I love vintage. The history that comes with the card. It's more than the card. It's more than the player. And if you take the time to learn those kind of things, and this community is great about helping that out, right? So like if you watch Tony Southern Collector, he does a great job with the history of the game. Dan's Vintage PC is another guy who just tells phenomenal stories and really digs into the history of the game, and looks at other players beyond the mega stars. And that's what makes collecting vintage phenomenal, and what I love about it. And you hit that on the head, Jason. Well said, I must say. That was perfect.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
We agree. We agree 100%. And you know, it means a lot to us. And that we kind of look at it, you know, the reason that we do what we do, the reason I do what I do with her, is I feel kind of this onus to help pass that on, right? To pass on those stories and the legacy of the players. And you know, it's so much of me. Like the baseball is part of my fabric, and so it's not just the cards, but it's the game, and it's the relationships, and handing that down from generation to generation. And I wouldn't feel like I was doing my part unless I tried to advance that.
That's perfect. I couldn't agree more. So I will ask you guys this: do you have anything planned for the future? Any big shows coming up? Any shows that you want to get to? Anything that you have planned, or cards you might be purchasing?
Well, so there is one show that he really, really, really wants to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I don't know what I was going to say, but so, we really want to go to the Strongsville show.
So that is my favorite show. I live in Chicago, so the National for the last year, this last one in the next 2 years, is right outside my door. If someone told me you have a choice to only go to one, I would skip the National to go to Strongsville. So I will tell you this: Strongsville is a much smaller show. I think we have hyped it up, including the mayor from Strongsville, Chris from Missouri. We've hyped it up so hard that I always have to tell people, understand it's not a real big show, but everything in the room is everything that you would want, and it's all there. And the community is all in the same place at the same time. So we get to spend 3 or 4 days. It's much more intimate than the national was. And you guys got to meet a lot of people, which I think is fantastic. But you'll really get to hang out and sit down and have fun with everybody in the community. And that's part of the reason I do this particular hobby spotlight is you don't need to make videos in order to be part of this community. And that's what's important that I want to get across to everybody. I've met you guys, and there are so many people that I've met who don't make videos and I've connected with because of this hobby. And that's the point. Do you think you're going to Strongsville?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
So we've booked the Best Western.
Awesome.
I'm,
Awesome.
I don't know that I'm a gold member with Best Western. We have it booked, and we're ready, and we're excited. You know, and I couldn't agree more, Jason. I mean, people were so nice to us. You know, yourself included at the national. I mean, it was exactly. If you had asked me before it happened, like how I wanted it to go for her and for our experience, it was exactly as I would have scripted it. Because you know, we got to meet a lot of the folks that we see on YouTube and that are really engaged in teaching folks about the cards and their love for the history, and they were so engaging and so great with us. You know, that's the way it ought to be, right? It doesn't matter whether you have a channel or whether you have a TV show or what you do in this world. The bottom line is, like, we're all in it together, and we ought to, you know, be working together to advance the things that we enjoy doing. And that's, to me, what this community is doing really well. So, you know, I applaud you and the other folks that are doing it. And we're just happy that we found it. I mean, we could have collected together like this, you know, independently, kind of in our little own world and not found the community, but it wouldn't be as fun.
No, now you get to share it with a bunch of knuckleheads like me. How about that, Finley? That's a lot of fun. I think that's awesome, guys. I can't wait to see you. I did not know that. I'm excited to see you at Strongsville. So we're going to have a blast. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I think we're getting towards an hour here. So I was going to wrap things up. Is there anything else you guys wanted to show or anything else you wanted to share before we call it a night?
Oh, we had one more
Good pickup.
Awesome.
We were at the Oklahoma City show, and this is something that Finley and I have tried to do. Is we try to combine an activity with the show. So we love going to like minor league baseball games, and so we look for shows that have minor league teams. And so over Labor Day weekend, we went to Oklahoma City, and the AAA affiliate for the Dodgers is there. And so we went to a game. We went to Mickey Mantle's Steakhouse, which is, and it's right next to the stadium. And then we went to a card show. And so we did all the things that we love, you know, in a weekend. And we met this gentleman there that he sells cards at shows to support his charity. My understanding is that he has a son with disabilities, and so he got into this charitable organization and raises money for a lot of different things. But one of the ways that he does it is through the sale of cards. And so we picked up a Babe Ruth Sonella from him.
Oh, so now you got two. You guys showed both Babe Ruths. That's amazing.
And so, you know, I mean, it's not a cheap card.
No.
But like meeting this gentleman, and I'll share this information with you, Jason, if you wanted to incorporate it in the comments or whatever with his information, his contact information. And it was just so great that, you know, his story was, look, I enjoy cards, but I'm really doing this because of the charity. And so, all of his information's there, and it was kind of cool to buy from him and support that, and know that it's going for, something a little more than the cards.
That's amazing. So he's a dealer, but he's dealing specifically to donate all of the money to this particular charity.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's fantastic. Once we're done here, if you can hang tight, we'll talk a little bit about that. So I think that's awesome. No, I appreciate that. Well, you guys ended it with a bang. You showed a plain Days Babe Ruth, so it doesn't get much better than that. Yeah, listen, guys, I'm going to call it a night here. We're right at an hour. I appreciate you, Jason and Finley, so much for jumping on. Thank you so much for doing this, guys. I had a lot of fun.
Hey, this was a blast.
Yeah.
Thanks
Awesome.
for having us, and we look forward to seeing this once it gets out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, then, with that being said, folks, we'll call it a night. Thanks everybody for watching who stuck around for the full hour. I really appreciate it. Keep an eye out for episode 4 coming out in the near future, and we'll talk on one of my next videos. Thanks for jumping on, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah.